Hey guys, so today we're going to go over to Korea and see what is much better there so far in 8.11. There should be a few things you might want to try out, mess around with, that we aren't really seeing a ton over on other servers. Remember as well, this is all about stuff that is a lot better than it was last patch. So new stuff really, but let's jump into it all with something cool for Kennen. I've actually got a real corker, by the way, halfway through this video, so you definitely watch out for that. But Kennen, to start with, used to be one of the most popular champions in Korea for a while, but nerf after nerf, and he kind of dropped off. Nimbus Cloak looks to have brought him back a little bit. You know, the new rune. If you think about it, the rune is nuts for him. It's so obvious as well. I just didn't think about it because he's not really played very often, but he presses his ult and like all he wants is move speed to get into range or chase people down to keep them in his storm, right? That is exactly what Nimbus Cloak is able to do with the bonus move speed, the decays as well. Use it with your E. It's like made for him. AD Kennen is actually a little bit better as well with the new items. When I saw the spike up in win rate, like I kind of thought it was going to be to do with that. I saw Def try it out, but this is really just AP and going for the ult damage. The stopwatch was actually also buffed a few patches ago. The time it takes to transform and is usable was lowered, so that is going to help at the same time. Aerie seems to be his core keystone at the moment. The more poke you can get from that like really helps with auto attack and ability trading to win your lane. Winning lane really does seem to be the big thing here with his win rate as well. Chasing them down and getting a lead is so important. I don't think he'll be like crazy broken, but he is definitely a lot better than he was in 8.10. The rune buffs helped him out a ton. Like his E, his ultimate, and Nimbus Cloak speed is actually so scary. Obviously, this is new stuff. Lucian is the one that I think we all knew would be in this video. He went from awful to awesome with the new changes. Everybody is talking about how it's the new Essence Reaver, right? It's just like made for him, but it's not all just that. It is great for him. The stats are exactly what he wants, AD. He doesn't have to build crit anymore with it, and he can use his Q and his E even more when it's active. Blade the Rune King, though, is cheaper, and with Essence Reaver having nothing to do with crit builds, we can go Reaver into Blade and Cleaver, which was already a really good item combo. You've also got the general AD nerfs to fleet footwork, less regen, less armor on the stats. That makes it easier for Lucian to fight in lane and actually come out on top. He doesn't always want to go for 100 to 0 kills, so you can now just like EQ quick trade, sticks more, and they can't heal back up as easily, so you go in afterwards for the kill. With bot lane being more and more about the lane phase now, and we're having quicker games as well, plus the item changes, that is why Lucian is suddenly so great again. As we said though, Essence Reaver or Blade is first for the build. Those are going to be the first two items, then into Cleaver, and normally into crit afterwards, at least in Korea. He is pretty even versus a lot of champions as well. I accept Misfortune and Draven, who are just a bit stronger in lane, so you can pick those to kind of counter him, but picking him against any weaker crit champion is ideal. Lucian is definitely back in 8.11. On a good aggressive player, he can really run away with the game again now, I think, and that is why he actually wins a lot more. Evelynn is going to be the first jungler of the video. Was a monster in preseason, early season, one-shotting everybody running around. Was kind of like a top tier carry jungler, and I think she might finally be getting back there. Korea love Eve anyway when she's good because she is like a true solo carry jungler. If you feel like you're kind of held back by your team a little bit as a jungler, this is a champion that can win a game for you. So in 8.2, this is where it all started. She had some really big nerfs to her E, reducing the max health damage she had, both the flat amount and the scaling with your AP, which really sucked. She never really recovered from that, but now I've had some indirect stuff for her which have helped a lot. So the new Runic Echoes, that was given better stats, and last patch the AP was even increased by another 20, so that is up to 80, which is amazing for how cheap it is. Then you've got like the new Ultimate Hunter rune in Domination, which was added, which lowers her ultimate cooldown, and probably that's actually a better system for her as a jungler rather than the scaling ultimate hat with how many times you had to use it like before. Because that is actually in Domination, it also frees her up to go Celerity and Walk-to-Walking for even more damage in Sorcery as a secondary tree, or Nimbus Cloak for a bit more mobility. Eve is definitely really good at getting ahead and destroying the game, but because of her ultimate and how well she does scale, now she can actually keep carrying throughout the game. There's nothing that weird about her building career, honestly. We mentioned the rune changes, though, the bigger things. Morello is actually the only reworked AP item that she tends to get. She is just definitely better in 8.11 though than she was before. AP junglers have been getting a lot of love recently. Evelynn probably felt that more than any of the others, but even someone like Fiddlesticks is actually a lot better. Going back to the bot lane just for a second, Zyra shot up to be one of the best supports in 8.11 so far, at least in Korea. We talked about this a little bit with the Lucian stuff. So 80 carries regen is a lot worse, right? Fleet footwork, the stat nerfs as well. So Zyra's poke is even more obnoxious than it used to be. It's even more powerful. Before you could kind of at least just like heal back and survive a bit more against Zyra, outlast her, but that is a lot harder to do now, which means less farm and probably more deaths as well. The point is Zyra can actually shove her plants up your bum now and make the enemy AD a lot weaker than she could do last patch. That gives her team a good advantage playing versus a weaker AD right mid game as well, plus her AD carry should actually be a little bit stronger with a free lane. She is the best early game support in Korea at the moment because of all of this. She doesn't scale that badly either with the new items. There are actually actually no changes to runes or items or anything. She doesn't use Nimbus Cloak or anything like that. They do take Stopwatch though, which was buffed a few patches ago. The build is really normal AP stuff like Leandries, Rylai's, Zhonya's, so kind of like a half mix of damage and defense. Honestly, matches will probably be over one way or another by your third item, so you don't really have to worry about the later ones. The one time you don't want to pick her really is versus like hard engaged champions like Alistar or Blitzcrank, but anything else that doesn't try and jump on your face is going to be fine. Carry supports and mages are a lot better at the moment for now. You could even go for like Brand or Lux or Fiddlesticks. They all work for exactly the same reason that Zyra does. I said I had a spicy build earlier. This is going to be it. So it's kind of the troll build of the video, I guess, but it's actually working, which is even more ridiculous. Just to say, by the way, Banner of Command did actually get a micro patch nerf a few days ago, so it's not quite as strong as it used to be, but people are still doing it. It's still not bad. The highest win percentage thing that you can buy as a first item on Veigar mid right now, this patch is Banner of Command. It is really stupid, but it gives you more pushing power and it makes you a real pain in the ass to play against, and if anything, it kind of stalls out the game while you scale up a little bit. After that, you're going to get your cooldown reduction item, whether it's Ludens or Archangels, and then into a Death Cap or a Zhonya's or something. And by that time, you should have gotten a decent amount of your passive stacks as well to start doing a lot of damage. Veigar kind of gets away with it because he has his passive, so he doesn't have to rush damage straight away. It's kind of just an adaptation to the meta. Veigar isn't the best early game, right? He needs some time to scale, so Banner is giving him that time, if that makes a bit more sense. Your runes are pretty typical. You have like Comet for more damage, a Transcendence for cooldown reduction to stack more, and a Gathering Storm because you're Veigar and you want to scale anyway. Shirley is not that bad on him as an item either, but the rest of the build is honestly standard. Like, Veigar isn't a bad champion anyway. I just thought this banner build was kind of insane and stupid, and it actually works. If you don't really want to play like a mage support like we talked about with Zyra, you can actually give Nautilus a go, who has come almost out of nowhere. The regen nerfs and stuff are also going to apply for him at the same time, just in a slightly different way. A little less because he's more engaged, but after a good fight, the enemy can't just get their health back before and then you go again. Also remember, heal was actually nerfed a little while ago and ignite was buffed, so kill lanes like this are just going to be a little bit better and it's going to be easier to kill them. The cool thing as well is that Nautilus is a lot like Rakan, just with obviously less shields and heals and stuff, but he's scales really well into the game because he actually has an insane amount of crowd control for team fights. His damage is not what it used to be after all the nerfs. That's kind of why we don't see him as much anymore, but Bone Plating and Chrysalis make him a lot more tanky early. He can engage obviously, and then you have more damage from most AD carries right now. When you think of Naut, you obviously do think of a really strong kill lane, a good lane phase, but weirdly the win rate is actually better once you get to later game team fights where he can use the crowd control properly. Banner of Command second is a pretty popular item right now. Of course it is, but you have a few options to be fair. You can go Locket and Redemption for more like defensive stuff. You can even go Banner and Zeke's for a more like stuck in side of things. So it depends how you want to play. If you can avoid Morgana as well, most matchups are actually pretty good right now. Sensor supports aren't as good on this patch and you can actually kill them, which is a really good thing for you obviously. Naut is a bit different, right? He's more of an aggressive support, especially though if the enemy bot lane is not that good and they let themselves get hooked, you're gonna mess them up. Next one is going to be a bit different. So this isn't a specific champion, but a lot of high-low AD carries now run TP on basically every different champion, every AD that you can play. A lot of people ask me about it. We've never really talked about it. They're still doing it on this patch, and it can be really strong, but it can also suck, honestly, at the same time. Definitely you want to try this in a normal game first if you fancy it, but if you use it properly, you can basically out-farm, out-rotate, and outplay the enemy AD without even really trying. It's the same reason you would get it for mid laners. It gives you favorable back timing, so you can base. It lets you keep up the pressure on them as well. You both base at the same time, you TB back, they have to run, you shove in the wave, you deny farm, and you don't miss any yourself. The idea will be that you get the first tower because of that. You're also going to have more farm as well, and then later you can move around the map. You can farm and then TP into fights, the same as a top laner would. We actually already said this, I think it was for Nautilus, but heal was nerfed as well, so Ignite is the go-to summoner now for supports. Ignite actually counters heal, right? It cuts the heal amount by a lot, so if heal is always going to get countered, it's not going to be as good to take it, if that makes sense. It's kind of up to you whether you want to do it or not. It's something that you probably want to try better in teams, I'd guess, and better in a duo as well, but it can actually work really well. Getting back to this normal champion, Zoe is definitely one of the best mid laners right now in 8.11, and even after all of those nerfs she had, her early power is actually ridiculous. Later it seems that she is a bit weaker now after those changes, but even just from Ludens, she can inflict some serious pain. You can either go pure poke with that, so you could go Ludens, Morello, Deathcap, you have Pen, you have a load of AP, you blast them with your Q, or you can go for a Lich Bane and you jump around more. You're kind of weaving in auto attacks in between each spell to get extra damage, and that would be a different style of play. Now she is stronger though. she can definitely control the game like before. The kind of threat of being blown up from a mile away or getting hit by a long-range sweep kind of changes the way that you actually have to play the game. Against a bad team as well, they don't respect either of those. That poke can kind of win by itself, constantly making the game a 5v4 for your team, which obviously makes it a lot easier. As we said, though, right now, in this patch, she's actually top 3 for early game win rate, meaning if she gets ahead in lane, the damage is kind of too much and she can end pretty easily. Zoe obviously is not a brand new pick or anything, but she's definitely a lot better right now for solo queue and one that can almost solo carry a game if you play it well. Now, the last one we want to talk about, again, isn't really new. If you've watched any of these before, you'll know that I say Kamil Jungle is like top 5 most played jungler in most patches. She is just a lot better right now, though. If you want to play her, it's kind of the best time to do it. We've never really taken a proper look at the obsession they have with this champion because honestly, she didn't ever win that much. The play rate would honestly probably be a bit higher as well if they weren't fighting with the top laner for who actually plays her in the game. Kamille is an awesome early game powerhouse, a lot like Xin Zhao. There's just a little bit more room to carry yourself and show some skill, I guess. Your ganks are really good though. Like, you can fly and you can stun as long as you actually hit it, I guess. And then once you get to 6, it's basically a free kill. They just cannot really get away. Warrior, Trinity Force, Derrick's as your first 3 items. But you also want to throw in a Tiamat early game and upgrade that into Titanic or Ravenous depending on how big your balls are. She's a very good anti-meta champion for now. That's kind of why I wanted to talk about her a bit. She's even with all the big boys as well, like a Graves or a Xin Zhao, and can go toe-to-toe with them, actually duel them and fight them and win. So I tried to have a mix this time of legit meta solo queue picks I think that are good for you to climb with and weirder or underrated ones. So let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, but for now, I will leave you with the robots.